I've got no idea how this is going to materialise. I'm just returning to my yoga practice after nearly 12 months of being in a disassociative state, which has been absolutely horrendous. I'm just beginning to try and get back into recovery and to open up again after a lot of me has been like snapped shut because I was absolutely terrified. While I've been on my yoga mat and listening to a gentleman called, is it Gabor Mate? You can correct me, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm dyslexic. It's spelt Gabormate. I've been pleading and begging with doctors and support workers and mental health workers, little ones at the bottom and the big ones as far as I could get to the top, to speak to them too about why I have pseudo seizures. I had 9 months of therapy, which was really nice, a lady called Ruth Guy, but I came away still with no answer. I've got my own theory about why I have them, but that's not why I wanted to do this video. I wanted to come on and do this video today because as a person that's been involved with some type of counselling since I was 21, and I'm now the ripe age of 53, the injustice of being labelled as a person with a dissociative disorder. I really don't like disorder. To tell somebody that they have a disorder, just for me must impact on one's mind that I am a disorder. I was without my knowledge, and I've repeatedly asked for an explanation and evidence to prove where and when and by whom it happened, but I was labelled with borderline personality disorder, stroke, emotional unstable personality disorder at least 10 years ago, and I've asked them when, where, who, why, how. Never had a response. And I've been sort of heard to say, you know, if every label you wanted to give me was a little yellow post-it note, by the time you finish sticking them on me, I'll either look like the scene off Bruce Almighty when he's trying to when he's trying to consolidate or log all the prayers that are coming in when he's playing God, and or the Big Bird out of Sesame Street. Oh, if you don't know, he's huge and he's covered in these yellow feathers, and those feathers represent post-it notes to me as far as the way that the mental health system have treated me. And yet here I am at 53, which is what, 20, bear with me, I'm really bad at maths. Is it 32 years later on? Not a great deal wiser as far as the mental health system is in the UK. Started off in Doncaster and then I've been in Plymouth for 27 years. But the thing that cries out in me every time I hear these diagnoses is, why aren't we labelled as survivors of one or numerous numerous acts of abuse or neglect. You know, why do I have the label of borderline personality disorder when I witnessed violence in every shape, mental, sexual, emotional, physical? From around the age of 2 years old, I was then subjected to violence from my natural father at the time, at which point, after my mum had been subjected to all of it from the same man, my mother picked me up and my 6-month-old brother and walked out of the house. And then I went on to start being treated badly in another family scenario, and it went on and on and on, right up to, in 2016, my mother's current husband assaulted me in an attempt to silence me by wrapping his hands around my face so I wouldn't tell my mother that he had confided in me that he was starting to fall in love with me a number of years previous to that. But the point I'm trying to get across is people have behaved inappropriately and hideously sometimes in and around me most of my life. They live neatly tucked away. I'm just trying to think, some of them in another family unit with no label, and I think vastly with no consequences. And yet I've survived what they did to me, albeit sometimes I might have just got in the way when somebody was having a bad day. I'm not sort of blaming or shaming or whatever what I'm saying. I just find it incomprehensible that I got in the way of that abuse. I, as a child, I mean, what on earth does a child's brain do at the age of 2? You know, and then being taken out of a family home, and I can't remember how much I saw this natural dad again until way later. I think I was 26 when I got in touch. What does a child's mind do when they think, where has my father, where's this father figure gone? I mean, by all, yeah, anyway, I'll not go into that. You know, like, and what do you make of, you know, be like staying in a spare room and seeing your mum upset, and, you know, what does a child do with this? It does at least 2 things I know of. Quickly learn coping mechanisms and quickly learn to soothe itself. And for me, I know that soothing became an addiction. And the coping mechanism was self-reliance and being as sweet as treacle so that no one else would get angry and violent and leave me. And yet the point that I go off track a bit. I'm very, 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 very uber passionate about this. Why do I, and we as everyone else that's got a diagnosis in the mental health sector, why are we the ones with these hideous labels? Borderline personality disorder, you know, I can't speak about like the autism, Asperger's and all of those. I'm dyslexic. You know, the diagnoses that, you know, people that I know and love have received. Hideous diagnosis, you know. And for me, the main reason we get the diagnosis is so that somebody can get out their manual and turn to page 57, section A, and say, oh, this is you, this is what you are, what you are suffering from, and this is the medication that's going to attempt to block it. So we're just going to dope you up. So after going through all of that and surviving, and if you're anything like me, assisting and supporting all those around you to your best of your ability, I then arrive at a mental health clinic and they sedate my brain. And for me, that is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. To actually have a drug in me that is sedating myself, the one that got me through all of that, learned how to cope, learned how to survive and to love the people around me, to then deny myself access to who I really am because I've been sedated, is horrific. Because I'm the only person that's always been there for me. And if I lose myself, who have I got? I don't know if this is the same for anyone else, but I know that that is my truth. And to be without myself is pain that I do not have words to explain. I could tell you how I'm feeling about the prospect of losing my little spaniel who's behind me over here. She's been assessed and there's something wrong with the liver. I could try to tell you how distressed I feel about that because she's out there. I could try to tell you how distressed I am about being estranged from my natural mum for at least about eight years, and attempts that I made to get nearer resulted in violence and manipulation and death threats. I could tell you about that, about losing her, about losing my other family members because other family members were annoyed at me or felt crap about themselves and used me as a scapegoat. And then I've lost those family members because no one in our family seems to have the courage to actually phone me up and say, have you done this? What is this I've heard? Nobody does that. They just form an opinion and off they go. I could tell you about the agonizing agony that I go through losing those connections. My grandparents, I was there when my granddad died, thank God. I didn't even know my grandma had died because my aunties decided to keep it all to herself. But when it comes to putting into words what it feels like for me to lose myself, and this dissociative disorder that I have, I've just used that word disorder again, haven't I? Ooh. Something will happen, like a friend will go silent and something in my brain says, oh, we know this, I'm going to shut you down. And I start to feel everything changing, my taste, my sense of taste, and the level of sensation I get when I open the back door and I feel the fresh air on my face, and I feel this closing down and the terror that I begin to feel. I'm going down Alice in Wonderland's rabbit hole. My real self is like starting to go, and it leaves behind a numb brain and strange sensations, taste, hearing, seeing. It affects my vision as it goes down my throat, my stomach, everything. It is, I can't even put it into words. I become instantly petrified. And the dread that I do not know how long I'll stay in that space is, to scratch the surface, horrific. I mean, just scratch the surface is horrific. The rest of the depth of it, I think I'd need to get an art pad out, maybe as large as the front of Plymouth Civic Centre, which is a rather large building, and throw every deep colour of paint I could throw at it to try and describe or illustrate the depth of that pain. But I go to my doctors and what do? They offer me something to sedate me even further, and I can't be like that anymore. And I think I've rattled on long enough now, but I just wanted to reach out and cry out. Reach out to other people that have been diagnosed like I have, and cry out to the world and whoever it is at the top of the chain that comes down to the UK's mental health system, that keep slapping, sticking labels on people like me when all they've really done is survived hideous and all the smaller degrees of abuse, and they've survived it, and they're still here trying to do their day the best they can. And I honestly feel that chucking a diagnosis is one of the cruelest things you could do, when nobody has ever said to me, what you went through is absolutely horrendous and well done you for surviving. I beg your pardon, Joe. Yeah, somebody did. Joe, I'm not saying your surname, but Joe, she did. But we used to meet for a 15-minute appointment, and we'd still be there over an hour later chit-chatting. But as far as the people that administer the drugs and make the decisions, not one of them have ever said, it's not you actually, it's the people that hurt you. And that is so on my heart to get out there, that I cannot be the only one that feels this way, and something has got to change. I hope and pray that something could change in my lifetime, and this is my attempt at triggering that change. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Thank you.